Wuthering Waves does it again and listens to players' feedback, and there's a lot of wins, but there's still a few problems. I know a lot of people have been a little excited about some of the changes that they have mentioned, but there's a couple that I still think are missing. Let's go in and let's talk about it. So you may have seen these developer notes starting to circulate and a lot of content creators really hyping up the changes. Let's go in and see what's really exciting and what parts of it are still a bit of a concern. Now they start us off with a thank you, of course. I always appreciate these developer notes from Kuro Games because it shows they really are paying attention. But let's look at some of the changes so far. First with combat. We are addressing the issues of poor sound effects and hit feedback many of our players mentioned. We will focus on revamping the sound effects of weapon hit feedback, echo skills, resonance skills, and other battle aspects. In addition, we'll improve jumping by adjusting animation speed, camera transitions, and landing feedback to make it feel more natural. Now to kick this off, that is a huge win. One of my major pieces of feedback was definitely that the game did not feel crunchy enough. It didn't have the same kind of impact that you're looking for on the ultimate abilities or on some of the skills. I'm looking for animation style effects like impact frames when it flashes black and white. Like I want it to feel like the damage that I'm dealing is worth the animations on screen, and there was just not quite enough there on the hit feedback. And so hearing this is just an instant win for me. I know I encountered a couple camera angle transitions that were a bit of a problem a little bit during the beta, so hearing that they're going to be polishing those even more is great. Character specific combat optimizations. We will be making specific adjustments for characters frequently mentioned in the feedback we received. Our current plans include adjust Ling Yan and Jianshin's moveset for an elevated overall combat experience, adjust Verina's HP restoration mechanism so she can use her photosynthesis energy more efficiently, improve Kalkuro's kit, his extra intro skill necessary means will be available by default. Again, some pretty good optimizations overall. I did not unfortunately get some hands-on experience with Jianshin, and I know a lot of people did have some complaints about her kit. I know she's basically a more optimized Tao Chi, like a 5-star version of her, which is good overall considering she is a 5-star character, but I know there was still a few complaints about that, so hopefully this helps squash some of those concerns. Concerning Verina, I don't care. I don't like Verina. That's just me. I'm probably gonna make a couple people mad with that. And on 3 new combat skill practicing dungeons, we will introduce a series of new combat practicing dungeons where you can better familiarize yourself with each character's unique combat mechanisms and practice how to combo. Aside from the point above, we also have started work on frequently reported issues such as bad camera experiences, frequent lock-on loss, enemies quitting combat, and counterattack failures. Again, all good things for polishing this. I know there was a lot of people who were complaining saying they didn't really understand the parry system or didn't fully understand the character's kit and wanted to have a better experience kind of demoing that out. The one thing I do hope for is that this trial stage is going to be available for anybody, even if you don't have the character. I know there was a tutorial stage that was available on our beta version, but you needed to have the character to try it. So I think if you want to, try it before you buy it, give a character a go before you actually spend your rolls on it. I just hope that that's available for those players. But again, overall, really great looking stuff. Now, this next one definitely has my attention as we're going to be taking a look at the ecosystem, which again was another area of concern for me. I made a previous video going over my concerns about levels of RNG on the echoes and how difficult it will be to get an optimal echo set. So I'm really hoping for some good optimizations here. We have received many suggestions and concerns about how the echo hunting experience was too grindy, how the game lacked disposal options for unwanted echoes, and other issues. Definitely glad they paid attention to that because I know a lot of people were talking about how like when you had extra echoes and you didn't have anything to do with them, you would just have to delete them and there was like no benefit to deleting echoes. Like they were just gone. You were just removing them from your inventory. They were absolutely useless getting duplicates in that case. So 1, make it easier to obtain various echoes. We plan to make echoes available through participating in in-game events, completing daily activities, and other means. Provide a better way to dispose of unused or redundant echoes. You will be able to recycle unenhanced echoes by converting them into random new echoes of a type you have unlocked. Okay, that's pretty good so far. I think being able to recycle echoes into other echoes to kind of get additional chances to get the echoes that you actually want with the actual substats that you want at the rarity that you want, giving more chances to do that is a very beneficial thing. If you're going to spend the time going around farming throughout the whole world and then you don't get everything and you clear out your entire world and you can recycle all those echoes into getting additional chances on doing that, I think that's a pretty fair way to go about doing it. It also prevents the kind of unlimited XP hack. They do right now have XP for echoes locked behind certain domains, and if you were just to be able to get XP from extra echoes, you would basically be able to farm unlimited XP if you had alternate accounts that you could go and farm echoes from, or your friends' accounts. You could literally go in and just max everything very, very quickly, which might break a little bit of the progression of the game. Some people might think that's okay and say, hey, if somebody wants to be try hard, reward them for doing that, allow them to use it for XP. I can understand that argument, but I can also see how by incorporating just flat giving XP for those duplicate echoes could break a little bit of the progression system there. So I'm going to call this one like a 6 out of 10, meaning I love that they're incorporating this recycling mechanic. However, I still think I wish XP was a little more accessible in the game. Is that fair enough? Is that enough fence sitting? Because my butt hurts. Now, number 3 is a big one. Return tuners when tuned echoes are consumed. When you use tuned echoes to upgrade other echoes, a designated % of tuners you previously used will be returned. They will also make it easier to get your desired substats. We will raise the minimum numbers you can get with substats rolling and narrow the range of possible rolling results. Now, this is the area where it's good. Again, it's really good, but I'm not sure it's enough. Like I said before, the recycling is positive. I think also when you delete other echoes or cycle them into new echoes because you're using the already spent XP on a better echo and getting those tuners back, I think is also a very good thing. That way, it's not going to make progressing characters and their echoes as grindy. It gives you the ability that when you cycle, your blue rare echoes and their tuners into a higher rarity echo, you can then take those rare tuners and put them potentially on another character to kind of be raising them as well. So it's going to help balance that out overall. However, I do wish it was just kind of like a flat, they would return the tuners. I don't necessarily like that it's a percentage that's only recycled over. That feels like, I don't know, a little bit extra painful for me. I wish that wasn't there. But they did then talk about that percentage chance. As I've mentioned previously, the percentage chance is one of my major concerns. So making it easier to get your desired substats, we will raise the minimum numbers you can get with substat rolling and narrow the range of possible rolling results. This is definitely going to have a major effect on those layers of RNG that I was talking about, because there was RNG on getting the echo, getting it on the right set, and then when you're using tuners, getting the right substat, and then also the range of the substat that you can get when you roll it. So they've at least reduced one of the layers of RNG by reducing the amount of the percentage that you can get on the substat, but that doesn't necessarily fix the RNG range on what substats can appear on that echo or incorporate any kind of manipulation or, substat selector, which is something that I still think should be considered, again, like they have in PGR. So again, while I do like that degree of change, I don't think that's enough. I don't know if other people are noticing that RNG is still going to be pretty egregious. So I do want to see some changes there. A fun additional one is they're going to optimize the auto equip mechanism to make it a little bit easier for players who aren't going to be super sweaty. And then they're also going to be adjusting some of the echo skills. Like you're actually going to be able to fully transform into the Infernal Rider, which I do think that's going to be an overall great experience, add some quality of life. I know people wanted some mounts, and this is, well, kind of it, I guess. They've also done a few other optimizations on the elusive realm, giving some tutorial stages, making it a little bit easier for players, as well as when you're farming chests in the open world, things are just going to be auto collected and also just kind of speeding up a little bit of that time. Again, some nice quality of life experiences. But they did also mention the story cutscenes and animations. Again, just as a reminder, going into the closed beta test 2 that we just had, they rewrote 90% of the story, which is a pretty major overhaul. Some people still didn't totally fall in love with the story, but I think all of us, regardless, encountered a lot of the kind of pacing experiences and a lot of the bugs within that as well. So I'm interested to see what they're going to say here. We're working on frequently reported issues about story cutscenes and animations, including strange camera positioning, characters showing up at the wrong time, poorly matched lip animations, and lack of detail in story sound effects. Optimize the camera positioning of character animations in some parts of the story, improved lip animation and eye blink animation. Again, definitely encountered that. I had a bug that happened during stream while in the middle of the animation. The character was there. They literally just like popped down like 2 feet and just were out of frame, and it looked really funny. Adjusted and rearranged the story quests, progression for a smoother flow, and changed the unlock prerequisites for some story quests. I hope this includes the part of the story quest that I was talking about earlier. If you've been following my content, you're in a research lab and it's just like exposition dump after exposition dump like 4 or 5 times in a row, and it's really painful. Like the flow of that is just like really heavy. And so I hope that's one of the things that they're considering in there, but I do like to hear that they are going to optimize that story flow a little bit better for players. For those of you who don't care about the story, they've improved the skip function to make it work a little bit better. I know it was bugging out for some people. Again, I'm not really going to be skipping the story. I generally like the story. I want to play this game long term, so I definitely am going to be trying to experience all parts of it. So, but those of you who just want to get to the combat, there you go. The skip button is going to be even better. Other optimizations and adjustments, aside from the changes above, we are addressing game issues such as crashes, blank screens, frame drops, and device overheating. So just some overall optimizations. But a big thing they mentioned here is we are also improving the character and environment designs and adjusting the UI for easier navigation. New events and story content are in early development, and we'll share our progress with you. Now, that's one component here that I do think could be a bit of a wrench in the machine, as it were, that could really delay some of the publishing of this game. I know some people may have had some dreams or seen some things about when Wuthering Waves could have been launching. I know there was some rumors about that it could be launching sometimes toward the end of May, but seeing some of these changes and knowing things are in early development, we're kind of getting towards the end of March here. I don't know, that might be a little bit of a tight turnaround that could cause some issues if they try and rush it out the door. I don't know. I'll be interested to see what some of those changes look like. And just as a final note here, they're taking localization very seriously, and they're going to be making some changes to that to improve the experience for everybody overall. There is a typo in this final paragraph here where they say the same thing twice. We apologize for any deficiencies and unsatisfactory content in the beta test build. The development team is committed to addressing these issues and prioritizing areas that were less enjoyable for players. Again, I always think the apologizing is a little bit funny, but again, I think it's a cultural thing. Like, it's a beta test. You should expect it to be imperfect, so I don't think you need to apologize for things being imperfect. That's the point of a beta test. But I will say, however, overall, I'm fairly happy with a lot of changes that they've outlined, and I think it's a really optimistic look for Wuthering Waves. They're still taking the player feedback very seriously, all around very positive. However, like I said at the beginning of this video, I don't think it's 100% there based on the feedback given. I still think there are issues with the ecosystem. There are too many layers of RNG that I think is just a little bit too egregious that I'm still a little bit disappointed by. Again, I think this can be remedied by incorporating some kind of in-game item that could be a tuner selector like they have in Punishing Gray Raven, where they have on the memories, where you can get the resonance material pick, where you can pick the substat ability that you want. And I think if they incorporated something like that, that's farmable in-game over time, kind of like an echo pity system, as it were, then I would be kind of okay with the layers of RNG that are there. I haven't completely written off RNG, I understand that, but I do still think something like that is necessary. One final note as well, I do think based on some of the feedback that they've outlined here, unless they are way further along than we've been seeing in CBT2, like we've been hearing about the other version that's been releasing on the Chinese servers, I've been starting to reevaluate the idea of if it could be launching at the end of May. There may be more changes than we expect. Don't get me wrong, I would be stoked for Wuthering Waves to release towards the end of May. However, I don't want them to release an incomplete and broken game that just hurts any potential of the game's viability long term. So I'm hoping we get it there, but I'm also hoping they don't rush it and ruin it. I think that's a pretty fair idea. I think that's pretty fair. But let me know what you guys think in the comments down below. Are you happy about some of these changes? Do you find some of these changes to be a little bit unsatisfactory? Do you want to see more? Let me know your thoughts in the comments down below, and let's have some constructive conversation there about this game that we are all excited for. One final note as well, I do still think it's important that they launch soon because the competition is heating up. And if you want to see some other videos on that, I did a reaction recently to Azure Promilla, which I do think is something that could shake things up in the future. If you made it this far in the video, thank you so much for watching. I greatly appreciate your time. Shout out to all the patrons who support this channel, and we'll see you next time.